What's up, y'all? You know who this is. This is Bodhi. Right, of course, duh. I mean, who else would have this face talking to you in this way about this ridiculously crazy subject that I think is pretty obscure? I think can make some people uncomfortable. I think it might make some people wonder what the fuck I'm up to a lot of times. But really, my whole life has really been a study of the human experience. And if you know anything about anything, you understand communication is a key factor in how our entire lives are experienced and how things unfold for us, the way we perceive ourselves, the way we perceive the world, the way we interact with others, right? It's all communication. Look, I got all these crazy notes about all this wild stuff that I want to I'm going to lightly go, actually, I don't know how deep I'm going to get into this with you. The point is I feel compelled to share this with you. For one, it's interesting as hell to me. For two, I feel like all of these things are salient. It can be applied to whatever it is that you're doing in your life, whether you're a leader, whether you're a parent, whether you're a follower, whether you're somebody in marketing or you want to help the business that you're working with or that you own. Maybe you're a firefighter. I say that because I see firefighters in the rear view. They're back there. Anyways, so here I am in Asheville. I was going to say Asheville, California, but that's not true. I'm in Asheville, North Carolina. I just ate at my favorite, this has got to be one of my favorite spots. It's called Bimberry Bon. Oh, real food, good food. Oh, it is so good. I can eat here so many times a week and spend way too much on really delicious things, but it's not too much because I love myself. And it's good to treat yourself well. I love bringing people there to eat as well. Anyways, if you're ever on Haywood Road in West Asheville, do yourself and your company a favor, your guests, your friends from out of town, your dates. Go to Bimberry Bon. Anyways, all right, so enough about that. So this is some of the stuff I want to share with you. I've taken these notes from several different sources that I've been studying throughout the years and really boiling it down. And if you're anything like me, when you're watching something like this, you're already reading a bunch of the things on the screen. So I'm going to do this to mess with you a little bit. So you've already read all that. Okay, great. So communication is this amazing thing that has basically, let's just get bare bones about it. It's the force of suggestion. Now, the force of suggestion is huge. You know why? For one, nothing that anyone says is 100%. All right, let's just get that out of the way. Nothing that anyone says is absolute truth. I know. Nothing that anyone says is absolute truth. Period. Like, I don't care if you're citing a holy scripture. I don't care if you're reporting on something you just witnessed, like happened right before your eyes. Now, the reason that we can say that is because you can have five different people that witnessed the same exact event, and yet everyone is going to have a different perception. Everyone's going to formulate different words. Everyone's going to have a different point of view, not only physically and geometrically from where they stand, because where one thing occupies a space, no other thing can occupy that same space. If there's distinction between those points, then they're occupying different spaces. And even when I say all of these things with this isness, like all the things I just said, none of that is absolute. We use language in a way that assists us. Typically we use language in a way that is supposed to be practical, that is supposed to help us to navigate. All right, if we're driving down the road, which I'm not right now, but look, I'm pretending to drive. My partner's letting me borrow their car while they're out of town, and I'm not driving while I'm recording this. Obviously, you could tell because I'd be going really slow with everything being super stationary. Anyways, so if we're driving down the road and I'm like, watch out, deer, and then someone swerves, maybe it wasn't a deer, maybe it was an antelope. Does that happen in the USA? Probably not. The point is like, it's for practical purposes. What's the point I'm making here? Number one, when we use language, when we communicate, when we say things, it is not 100%. It is to influence behavior. All the things I'm saying right now, I'm not saying it because it's 100% true. I'm saying it in order to influence the world around me. Just like language is very much like touch. It is a point of contact. It is perceived differently by different people. There's different intentions and things that are said. How many people in the world use the word God? Yet, for every single person that uses that word, every distinct person has their own idea, their own relationship, their own meaning when they say this word, no matter how similar it might be to the person next to them in the same congregation, in the same faith, in the same whatever. But you could be identical twins, it doesn't matter. Everyone has their own point of view, and communication is a way for us to bridge the gap. And typically, we're bridging the gap for reasons of look at the word communication. It means to come into union. It means to become one. When you're at a service or something, or you're in a place and they're like, all rise, and everyone stands up at the same time. Let's get to the bones of it, y'all. The purpose of all language, I'm just going to start reading some stuff now because I'm sure you've heard enough of me rambling about what's not true and then telling you all this stuff is true. So this is really for you to make up your own mind. You know, and anything that I share with you, I'm going to absolutely support that you are the final authority on everything that you experience. Like, you are the locus of your own attention. You are the most influential point in your life. Doesn't matter what's happened to you, doesn't matter where you're going, doesn't matter what you believe or what other people believe. You are the most influential, the most central influence in your own life, in the way that you use language for yourself, which is huge. I have a spirituality course available on udemy.com. If you go to udemy.com and you search Bodhi Horn, you're going to find a course that I made that talks specifically about self-talk and how incredibly potent that is in shifting your experience. It changes your attitude, it changes your awareness. There are things that you might not even see, or things that you can't help but see based on the way that you talk to yourself. Super crucial. And the reason that self-talk is so important and the communication we use with others is because it focuses behavior. It tells us things about ourselves, all right? Confucius says signs and symbols rule the world, not words or laws. Now, I know you might be saying, like, but Bodhi, didn't you just say, like, signs, symbols? You're talking about words. Look, words are signs. They're symbols. They point to things. They're complex symbols. Human beings, we are complex animals, all right? Let me just go through some of this stuff here. If this is interesting to you, raise your hand. No, I can't see you raise your hand, but it just kind of feels good to raise your hand. Like, I get it. Technopsychic. I just had really good bread pudding, so maybe I'm a little sugar stoned right now. But it's coconut sugar. It's not refined. Technopsychagogiatis dialogon is actually what I have tattooed on my chest. All right, and that's a Greek term. It's a Greek phrase that means the art of leading the soul by means of words. And the reason I got that tattooed on my chest, and the reason that that's included in these notes that I've made, and these are some really great notes. Like, I can get into some stuff with you. Like, it gets really, really powerful. The reason I got that tattooed on my chest is because all my life I've felt very connected to my words. I remember my parents had split up a few times, and one of the times that they had separated, my mother took my younger sister and I to New Hampshire, and I was probably like 5 or 6 years old and really didn't know how to comprehend what was going on. I didn't know how to make words of it. I didn't know how to talk to anyone about it. So what I did while I'm sitting in the front seat of the car, I remember reaching into the glove compartment and pulling out a little a little pad of paper, like those yellow pads, like maybe 5x7 or maybe a little larger, and a pencil. And I just started writing these words that rhymed. Okay, I think that's called poetry. And I wrote something like, I remember the first lines. It's like, love is a dove flying in the air. Oh man, I forgot the rest. Anyways, it's in my grandmother's photo album. It's stuck around in the family for a long time. It's still around. Anyways, I used those words in a personal way because it was the only way that I knew how to express what I was feeling. It was complicated for me. I didn't know how to talk to people about it. So I didn't know how to talk to my mom. We were leaving my dad. My sister's in the back seat. We were kind of like alone. So while my mom's pumping gas, I'm like writing this poem, which I had her then send to my dad. And like I said, now it's in my grandmother's photo album, which she won't let me acquire. She's like, oh no, I haven't seen that. Nope, it's not in there. Like, I saw it years ago, Grandma. Like, give me some nostalgic, pleasure. Let me at least look at it. I want to see what my handwriting was like. I want to know what the friggin' poem says. Anyways, maybe one of these days I'll be able to see the poem again. But the reason I got Technopsychagogia tis Dialogon tattooed on my chest is because I've always had this strong connection with words and with voice. I've always felt called to use these things in a way that not only help myself but helps others, that influences the world around me. And we all do this. Little kids are great at this. Adults are great at this. Sometimes some people are less successful or less tactful or less graceful than others. And some are really great at being, super smooth and really keen at how to deliver words with a certain tonality in a certain pace that just really moves people in a way that is beneficial either for just themselves or beneficial for all involved. I tend to be a person that wants my influence to be good for everyone involved. I live in a community home, and most of my communication, especially in meeting settings, is like, okay, but what is good for everyone here? Where is the compromise that we can all come together on? Because that's just what's important to me. It's easy enough for a slick person to say things in a certain way to make everything happen just for them. But eventually that kind of shit breaks down and it creates disease and sickness. In fact, I think disease is when the organs and tissues or channels in our body are not flowing the right way. And when people are using really selfish communication, it fucks up the flow of the whole system, and then other people become sick, whether that's nations or countries or households or families. All right, so good communication is going to be something that the intention and the art of it is for the benefit of all involved. That's just my opinion. Like I said, nothing is absolute. Make up your own fucking mind. The purpose of language is to direct the human soul. Now, the soul in the Greek is a word that means mind and heart. It's basically your thoughts. It's basically your feelings. It's also related to the word breath. Now, breath, this is a slight aside, but breath is this amazingly powerful thing that you can regulate your whole body, your whole beingness with. Like, if you have a hard time with anxiety, if you have a hard time with depression, or I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not giving you medical advice, but I am telling you that you can use your breath to influence yourself instantly, immediately. You can enter into flow states, you can enter into shamanic states, you can enter into peak performance states, you can enter into more creative states. Look, your breath is so key and fundamental. How you're breathing, that is your being. Okay, if you're breathing like someone who's in love, you're going to be someone who's in love. If you're breathing like someone who's panicked, you're going to be someone who's panicked. All right, so that's a slight aside. Soul basically means breath. It is the animating force inside you. And what animates you other than your desires, other than your presence, your life force? If you know anything about me, if you've spent any time with me, you are more powerful than you've ever been led to believe. You are a fucking force of nature. Nothing can stop you. You can stop you. You can give you the green light too. So the purpose of all language is to direct the human soul. That's why we love music and songs and poetry. That's why we watch entertainment, okay? Words are a huge part of all these different mediums that influence us in a way to make us feel a certain way. And when we feel a certain way, we behave a certain way. Sometimes we just want to escape. Sometimes we want to become better at XYZ. Sometimes we just want to know or be inspired about this, that, or the other. All right, so now I'm going to give you some really interesting things. If you want to have more influence in your own life and you want to have more influence in the lives of others, here's a quick disclaimer. Don't be a fucking shithead. Don't be an asshole. Don't be a manipulative person who wants to take advantage of people, because then you would suck. And if you suck, then you're going to get lost in a black hole. Black hole's just going to and you're going to be gone. Don't be an asshole. All right, so the way to have incredible influence, now this has to do with words, this has to do with any form of communication. Now, like I said, we're talking about the force of suggestion. And just to clarify things right here, suggestion, everything I'm saying is suggestion. None of it is truth. Might be my truth, but even I'm dumb enough to know that the things I'm saying, even though it might be my truth, it is for practical intents and purposes. It's not absolute. All these things are subject to change with my experience. But the force of suggestion, if you want to have more influence in your life, then master the power of your presence. Okay, people who feel really flighty, who can't make up their own mind, who need the approval or the input of others in order to have a solid stance on anything, they're not the most influential people. The influence they might have would be uncertainty, would be to invoke doubt in people. And while all of us might do that sometimes and in different situations, because we're not all the expert all the time, if you're the authority everywhere you go, then you might be a dictator. All right, that's not the goal. The goal is for the realms and the domains that are important to you, where your values lie, where you have proficiency. You probably want to be the most influential person, or one of the most. Okay, know that your opinion matters. The way that you feel, you are a point of intelligence. You are a force of intelligence. If you ask me, you're a fucking genius amongst a sea of geniuses. It's not just you, and it's not just the people you like. It's everyone. Everyone's got this genius capacity. Most of us don't access it. And one way to really access it is to be the most present person possible, which means to be embodied in yourself. Now, there's different times where you can go outside your body and get out of your mind. That shit's great too. But we're talking about being a point of influence for a moment. If you're not a shaman in the midst of a community where you need to go far out in order to bring back the treasure for the people, then when you're communicating with people, you want to be really present, because that's going to be the most influential. Take a look around. The people who exert a lot of authority in any situation, the people who are like badass at X, Y, and Z, that you look to them and you're like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, what that person said. They're very present. And I would also, assume that they are very clear. There's not a whole lot of, I don't know, or what do you think, or maybe this, but also maybe that, and then maybe this other thing, but I don't know. Okay, I mean, I do that sometimes, and it's not helpful in a situation where I need to be influential. Okay, what really helps people is when I'm very present and I know what I'm talking about. I love what I'm talking about. I like what I'm talking about. I trust what I'm saying, and I'm very clear about it. Okay, so one of the ways that you can improve your influence amongst others is to be very present where you are, to be very clear about it. Now, here's a cool little formula I learned from Brendan Burchard. Pretty sure that's the guy who I got this from. He says the formula of being like really influential is you plus them plus your relationship. That when you, okay, because there's you, and and then there's the people you're communicating with, and then there's this third mind. This is something Napoleon Hill talked about. Andrew Carnegie, which was a steel baron back in the 30s or something. He was like the first millionaire in America or some shit like that. But what he would do, he knew he wasn't the smartest guy in the room. He surrounded himself by smart people so he could have a fucking booming business. And he recognized when he sat down with his board of directors, when he sat down with his people, it wasn't just his mind and Bob and Rich and Jackie and Barbara's mind. When he sat with these people, there was another mind created. There was another force of intelligence created. That was the synergistic emergence of all of those parts, okay? That could do more than just the parts. It's the same with, if you want to be an effective communicator, what you do, like right now, what we got going on, it's a powerful thing. There's you and there's me, right? And then when we have this exchange, there's something that is coming out of it that is more than you and it's more than me. It's our relationship. And when we honor this trifecta, when we honor this thing, when we're aware of it and we don't ignore it. See, if I was just all about me, and I wasn't thinking about you, and I wasn't aware of our relationship and the impact that it makes on the world, the difference that it makes in you, the difference it makes in me, if I wasn't aware of all that, and I was just like, just self-concerned, it'd be a pretty shitty message, number one. And number two, it would not have the influence. It would not have optimal influence. Okay. So by honoring this relationship, I know that it's going to improve the relationships in your life as well that go outside of this trifecta of you, me, and what we've got going on. It's going to go beyond that. A question that's great to ask if you want to influence people, like groups of people or individuals, is to say, what do we need together? What it does is it creates, because communication, remember, is this unification. It's bringing people together. Look, this might seem like surface level stuff to some of you, but oh my God, we're going to get deep. Bear with me, and we're going to get into some straight up magic. Now, I might turn some people off, but when I say magic, I mean real stuff that makes a real difference. What do we need together? Well, when I think of the human experience, which I've studied all my life, I think what we really need is to let our light shine, to let the brilliance inside of us, to clear off the cobwebs, to kick off the dust, and to really embrace and give license to the genius that's within us all. That's what I think we need together. But I could ask that of you, like, hey, what do we need together? Well, we need to have more influence in our lives instead of letting others, just letting circumstance or maybe nefarious characters or people who don't really care about us, instead of letting circumstance or just haphazardly direct us. We need to have more influence in our lives, to honor our values, to really be in touch with the things that are important to us. Because look, there's billions of people in the world, but I'm gonna guess no matter how granola you are, or how hippie or new age or loving or spiritual you are, there are some people you love more than others. There are some activities you love more than others. Okay, there are some things that are just more important to you. And that is a very personal thing that has to do with your soul, your values, your mind, your heart, your thoughts, your feelings. And disease, whether it be psychological or mental or physical or social, it comes from when we're cut off from the flow of our values. So to become more influential in your own life, that's something that we need together. Okay, I don't need to agree with your values. You don't need to agree with mine. But I think if we can all get on this playing field of like, hey, I know soccer is really important to you, or I know being transgender is really important to you, or I know that riding your bike instead of driving your car 2 minutes down the road is important to you. Like, look, it's different for everyone. And the point is like, do what's important to you without shitting on others. But at the same time, if what you're doing is going to ruffle someone else's feathers, fuck it. Someone's getting their fucking feathers ruffled. Okay? They need to get over that shit. Sorry. not sorry. Like, live your life. I'm gonna live mine. Bless you. Damn it. All right, so what do we need together? We can raise the level of people's ambition of who we can be together. Okay, people are more apt to be involved when it's not just, hey, Jim, I need you to do this for me because the office says we need it. No, it's more like, hey, we can fucking rock out this thing if we come to terms of agreement on this and take these actions. We're gonna crush it. People have more investment. They feel more of their value is involved in something that's greater than themselves instead of just being used or usurped. All right, I don't know if I'm saying that clear. I'll try and clarify some of this. That sugar though. Oh, Bimberry Bon, I love you. So, another thing that great leaders do is they raise the ambition of the group when they come together and accomplish a greater task. It's just like that example I gave. If I was like a CEO. In fact, I was just at a meeting this morning for a very large chocolate company here in Asheville, California. They're amazing. Have a fucking awesome product. Really beautiful vision, awesome values, and they're having some difficulties right now as far as finance goes. They pay out a huge amount to their employees in income and benefits, and they're not making the profit that they need to. And during the meeting, there's a lot of low points, and I think it's just because human nature. I don't know that the owners or the leaders have had the type of training that's necessary to rally a group of people for like extraordinary performance. So there was a lot of down emotion, and I think what could have made the meeting a lot more successful, and I'm going to consult with them about this, what could have made the meeting a lot more successful is if they optimized the potential energy of all 100 people in the room to come together to accomplish a greater task. It's difficult. It's not super easy. It's challenging to go through difficult experiences and rally oneself in order to rally hundreds. But we're going to get into some really good shit here in a minute. I'm going to tell you about when you hypnotize yourself and you transfer that energy to others. That is like the fucking primo. And that's why it's so important to be present and to be really clear, okay? Because then you can really hypnotize yourself, which means to establish your own rhythm despite anything else that's going on. And when you convey that to others, look, great entertainers do this, great performers do this, great leaders do this. They're so fucking sure of their own shit that they emote it, they vibrate it. And the rest of the room, the rest of the receivers, the listeners, they pick up on that vibe and they resonate with it. Okay, that's just the way it is. So, another great way to compel change in people is to talk about the old world versus the new world. Okay, like something that could have been really great for the meeting and that chocolate company that I'm talking about today is if they had said, so these are the problems we've had, and this is the way it's been for a while. But we envision a new thing, a new way of being in this company, a new way of influencing our world. So you talk about the old shit, how it's been, and this is like a part one of getting to a 10x mentality. I'll talk about 10x maybe another time because I'm really trying to cover a lot in this, and I feel like we've been going on for a minute. Let me get laser focused on this for y'all, okay? Even in your own life, think of the things that you've been unhappy with. Now I want you to just, what's the current view of the situation? We're going to call that old world. How do you want things to be? How would things be if you made amazing changes? We're going to call that new world. So the 10x it, to 10x means 10 times. Grant Cardone uses this a lot. In fact, he's taken this one idea that I first read about from Frederick Mann, who is another controversial character, probably just as controversial as Grant Cardone himself. But Frederick Mann was this writer. I don't know if he was a financier, but he was definitely an entrepreneur who, the first time I ever read about alternative currency was through Frederick Mann. The first time I read about, not the first time, but one of the first large sources, repositories of information on the internet that I read about overcoming slave speak and really just becoming a badass in your own life with whether that be through money and psychology and diet, was this individual called Frederick Mann. I've never seen a picture of him. This was way back in the old days of internet. It was just text. It was just like pages and pages and pages of articles. But anyway, Frederick Mann is the first time I saw the idea of 10x, 10 times. So you take your current view of the situation, you write that shit down. Just use a fucking pen and paper or type it out, whatever. Speak it out, do whatever you got to do. Record it. Current view of the situation. And include some of the stuff that sucks. Now, consider a better view of the situation. Okay? You write down your better view of the situation. Now it's better. That's nice. It's all right. I can fucking deal with this. That's sweet. Okay? And then you create a 10x view of the situation, which is 10 times better than your better view of the situation. So it's like, at the chocolate company, let's say, they're like, okay, we're bleeding out money here. We have a great product, but we can't give anyone raises right now. We're having a really hard fucking time paying our bills, paying our suppliers. That's the current view, which we'll call old world, right? And then what I would recommend them to do, if they were to accept my coaching, I would say, all right, now what's a better view of that situation? And they would say something along the lines of, we can pay everyone what they deserve. We're making profit hand over fist. We have no problem giving people raises on time. We have no problem implementing the training that people need. And everyone's happy. I'm like, awesome, that's fucking great. That we'll call that new world. Huge difference between the old world. Huge difference between the current view of the situation where they can't afford to pay fucking people. And the better view is where they can pay everyone with no problem. And then you introduce this crazy fucking idea. All right, what's 10 times better than that? Woo! Well, we reshape the chocolate industry. We recreate a cleaner, fairer impact in the world of how chocolate is harvested and produced. We improve the chocolate industry, and we become like the top brand in the world, and we end up just becoming a leader in this industry. Look, I'm not the owner, so I don't know exactly what the 10x would be. I've got ideas. Took a lot of notes. But this is just hypothetical, off the cuff. That is so much more than just being able to pay bills. That is making a difference in the world, not just in like 100 employees' lives, but that is making a difference in the world, in hundreds of farmers, in hundreds of countries, okay? And that influence in that industry would obviously go on to influence other industries as well. That is 10x. That is taking it next level, and then you start to do things that address that. You start at the fundamental levels that do that, okay? Another thing that you could do is the as is and to be argument. Here's where we are, and here's where we're going. Something like that addresses both the logic and the emotion, and in order to really have influence with people, you got to address both. Like, I could say things all day, like right now, if none of this is like touching you emotionally, if you're not seeing like how this can make a difference in your life, if it's not like pulling any heartstrings, if you're not like, wow man, I'm gonna fucking get really good at this, or oh, that shitty situation, I know how to adjust that now. If there's no value in it emotionally, it doesn't matter how logically sound it is. Like ABC can line up perfectly, and if it's not full of treasure, it's not going to mean shit. And vice versa. I could be saying all the sugary, sappy things in the world, but if there's no logical, sound way for that to roll out, it still doesn't mean shit. All right? We see a lot of this in the world. Academic papers tend to be really logical, lacking all emotionality. Really new agey, like, you know, little memes and shit tend to be really saccharine sweet and don't have any practical, like, logical, reasonable explanation of how some of those things work. So it's not as effective when you have both logic and emotion. There's different ways to tap into both of those. They don't have to be exquisitely complicated, but when you tap into both of those, people are more apt to move. I've got some notes here from Straight Line Sales from Jordan Belfort, the guy who the movie Wolf of Wall Street is about. He also wrote a book called The Wolf of Wall Street. I don't know how much of it is fictional. However, it does seem like he made a shit ton of money. He was covered in a lot of magazines back in his heyday. And I did take some notes from one of his masterclass sessions. I'm not going to open up that page right now. It's not exactly relevant to what we're talking about now. But here's the thing, all speech. This is about all speech. Robert Anton Wilson, who is a badass, he says the principal software used in the human brain consists of words, metaphors, disguised metaphors, and linguistic structures in general. Meaning the way that you formulate sentences and ideas and questions determines your behavior. Okay, a change in language can transform our perception of the cosmos. I forget who SWK is, but that is the hypothesis of sociology. Like right now, the way that we use language, it makes us think a certain thing about the world we exist in. If we were to change certain aspects of that, it fundamentally changes our global worldview. And the way that we think about ourselves is the way that we think about the world, is the way that we think about others. All right, are you with me? If you're still with me, raise your hand and wiggle your toes. These are fingers, not toes. Good for paying attention. All right, y'all, I think that's enough for right now. No, it's not. Tell us more. Look, there's this. You could pause the fucking thing and read this if you want. I'm going to skip through this. Metaphor magic is really crucial. I want to get down with that in a more laser-focused way another time with you. Let's go here for a minute. And I hinted at this a moment ago. This is about the power of the hypnotist, the mesmerist, the shaman, the showman, the actor, the leader, the master. I know it says himself, but I mean themself, him or her, or in between. The individual themselves is hypnotized. They transfer that state from one mind to another. Suggestion is an infectious prompt to directionalize experience. Let's get more into that later. Finally, I'm going to jump down to this down here. Now, this is going to blow your fucking mind. All right? Blood flow determines everything. I can't even get into this right now. I can't even. But your blood flow, it determines everything. Brain activity, organs, extremities, state of feeling, excitement, arousal. Now, a lot of times when I use the word arousal in conversation or in speeches, people always think I'm talking about sexual arousal, but that's not what arousal comes from. Arousal simply means to rouse, to awaken, to bring to attention. All right? It's not just the sexual salute. All right? Arousal means to bring something to attention. And when you have blood flowing to certain parts of your brain, it brings certain things online. No blood flow, no happening. Control the blood, you control the soul. Does that sound really dark or nefarious right now? It's not. It's what all of us do. It's what babies do. When a baby is crying, a newborn baby, a mother, that child's mother, and even other mothers, and even other people who are not parents, their blood starts flowing in a very particular way that causes them to want to behave in a certain way, either to quell that baby's cries and give it what it needs, or to exit the room, or to, some people like want to just yell, shut that fucking baby up, you know. And yeah, blood flow determines that. You control the blood, you control the soul, and a baby's cry has a very powerful way of garnering attention. You master your energy, you can energize your audience. Look, today, like I said, I just got done eating at like my favorite spot. I had this really big piece of bread pudding, and usually I can get like 3 different types of desserts and eat a meal there. Not because they're small portions, because they're large portions, but because I pack down some calories when I eat. But today, that bread pudding, I only got like through 3/4 of it. I had to save some. And I'm not in my most heightened state, but I have been excited to share this with you. So the thing is I am not a complete master. I don't have complete mastery of my energy right now. This is more of a share, not a coaching or an instruction session. I'm just like, I'm really fucking stoked. I'm excited to share this, so I'm sharing it. You know, I'm turned off my inner critic, like, oh, you have to shave or put on your tie or you know, go stand in a fancy place. Look, I'm in a fucking car. I didn't shave, and I'm in my Chew t-shirt. Chew is this badass band. Chew is so badass. They're like a psychedelic, like, noise/rock group. They're less noise, more rock, from Atlanta, Georgia. They're so badass. Go check them out. Chew. If you want to find them online, look up Chew 3D, CHEW 3D, or Chew Music. I think they're on Bandcamp, and they have their own website. They're on YouTube. They've been on Cartoon Network. Saw them out here at the auditorium in West Asheville. They fucking rock. Come back to West Asheville, y'all. Damn, I miss you. You said you were coming back, and you didn't. You like jumped around. You skipped us. But when you master your interaction, you master your interactions. Write that down. That's a great note. Shit, did I make that up? Yes, I did. Master your inner actions, the things going on inside you, your own blood flow, and you can determine that by your self-thought, because remember, language is the software that programs our brain. Change your language, the way you talk to yourself, the tones that you use, and you can change your inner actions, how your heart is beating, how you're feeling, how you're thinking, your motivation. And when you change your interaction, you can change your interactions, how you're interacting with others. Tony Robbins is a master of this. Like, before he goes out on stage and talks to thousands of people, he'll fucking jump on a trampoline and drink some water and like scream at himself, yeah, I'm Tony Robbins. I'm pretty sure that's what he does. And then he goes out and has like really powerful interactions with people. So another thing to remember is that your life will be better when you master your interactions. Basically, as a leader, as an influencer, as a hypnotist, as a shaman, as a show person, remember that the number one interest in the world is for people to be better off. The last time I said this to someone, they were like, that's not true, that's not true. I don't mean better off than anyone else. I mean better off than your current situation. The only reason that you do anything is because you see it as improving your current situation. Even if you're doing something shitty, like doing cocaine off of a stripper's booty. Some people do that because they think it's going to make them better than the moment before when they were not doing the cocaine on the stripper's booty. The point is like, look, people want to feel good. They want to feel secure. We are pretty much addicted to pleasure as a species. I'm not saying you as an individual, but as a species, like, we love to do what makes us feel good, even if it might have consequences that we don't welcome. So by communicating to people like to our kids, or to our teammates, or to our family, or to our audience, like, look, your life is going to be better when you take my course. Your physical fitness is going to improve when you do just one more rep. Your your mental state is going to be more inspired when you improve your self-talk. Your life will be better when you X, okay? Some people say, man, your life's gonna get better when you stop doing all these drugs. Some people say, man, your night's gonna get better when you take one more shot. It's up to you to determine and decide on what you want to communicate to yourself, what you want to communicate to others. Better off is the number one turn on in the world. Everyone wants to be better off than where they currently are. I hope that this information has helped you somehow. I want you to be better off than how you were 10 minutes ago, than how you were, maybe 40 minutes ago. Who knows when I started this. I want you to be better off. I want whatever your current view of the situation is, I want you to be able to have a better view of that situation, have a better handle on it, and to even go 10 times beyond that. Because why? Because you can, and because there's things that are important to you. And when you do that, you can do more of what's important to you. You can care for the people that you really fucking care about. You can make more money. You can make greater impact. You can go places that you really want to go. You can bring people that you really want to bring. You can do so much, and it's really up to you. All behavior has consequences. I desire for you to tap into what's really important to you. Nothing is more beautiful, more powerful, more rewarding than bringing your inner genius to light. And ultimately, even though I'm talking about all this crazy communication shit, the bottom line is I do it because, one, it makes me feel good. These are my values. These are my interests. This is what I geek the fuck out about. And two, because I love geeking out about shit that gives you power. Look, I came from really difficult times in my life. I've been fucked up in the head. I've been fucked up in life. I've experienced the shit. All of us have, different degrees. This isn't a contest. I'm not gonna say, oh, I had it worse than you. Fuck that. And if you think you had it worse than me, okay, great. I don't need to be right in that. You can win if you want. The point is all of us go through shit, but I've gone through shit in a way that inspired me to improve my situation, and I love seeing people win. I love seeing people overcome the bullshit, overcome the things that they thought were fucking impossible. Look, you can do it. I did it. I've known hundreds of people that have done it. I've helped people do it. I've witnessed others. You can. The technology is there. Everything in the world exists. Just make the connections. Make the connections that matter to you. Do what counts, because you can. You're more powerful than you've ever been led to believe. Look, if you like this, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. If you don't let me know, I'm going to keep doing it anyways. And yeah, thanks a lot, y'all. Love you. Peace the fuck out. Beep.